When it comes to gender equality, America's ranked 49th in the world, just below Peru, which means now all those pictures I took stunting at Machu Picchu just make me sad. So I'm here to do my part by educating Americans about vital gender topics. This is Desi Lydic Womansplains. The wage gap. It's the difference between what men and women earn in America. Now, the stat we usually hear is for every dollar a typical man makes, a woman makes around 80 cents, which is also 50 cents name when adjusted for inflation. But the wage gap is a bit more complicated than that 80-cent number, which is why I'm here to break it all down. The 80-cent wage gap is the average of all the money earned by men versus all the money earned by women. If you adjust for race and ethnicity, it can get wider. On the other hand, if you adjust for employees being paid hourly, it can get narrower. So the exact number is really hard to pin down. It's like splitting a check after a bachelorette dinner. Look, I assume those vodka bottles were complimentary, so I shouldn't have to pay for them, Elizabeth. But experts agree the wage gap is real, and if we want to fix it, we need to understand it. So let's start with the good news. It's actually illegal to pay women less money for the same work. In spite of that, women still need to fight for equal pay. Earlier this year, the US women's soccer team filed a lawsuit claiming that they're paid less than the male team. Even though, as they claim in the suit, the women's team has played more World Cup games, generated more profit, and had a larger audience. Also, compared to the women's team, and I cannot stress this enough, the US male team sucks, you guys. It really sucks. In 2018, they didn't even qualify. Meanwhile, the women are out there medaling every time and winning the whole damn World Cup. Look, if they're gonna bring glory to our nation, they shouldn't have to pawn the trophy to get paid. So for the women's national soccer team, equal pay is their goal. No, that's not right. You know what? I'm just gonna let their all-time leading scorer say it. Abby?
Equal pay is our goal!
Much better. So if that's the struggle for world-class athletes, you know the wage gap is even more challenging for everyday women. Let's talk about why. The major component is what economists call lifestyle choices, like starting a family, which is why the wage gap is higher for women who have kids and lower for women who never get married. This is what's called the motherhood penalty, which could also be the name of a J.Lo movie where a judge sentences her to take care of someone else's kids, all while keeping her food truck afloat and taking care of her blind mother. Totally see that, by the way. But in reality, the motherhood penalty is a long-term financial hit a woman takes after leaving a job or going part-time to raise her children. And those women earn an average of 39% less than men. As if I didn't deal with enough shit when I was pregnant. Now, a cold-hearted economist might say,
"What does the free market care? Why should you get paid for taking time off?"
well, sir. Ow! Motherfucker! What does the free market care? We are literally birthing the economy's future customers. Who's gonna buy stocks and cars and jeans if there are no people left? Trees? Trees wouldn't be caught dead in denim. And remember, having children is a lifestyle choice that men also make. The only differences are, one, a baby doesn't squeeze its way out of their dick, and two, a man's income statistically increases after he has a baby, which I guess should be called the fatherhood bonus, which would also be the sequel to that J.Lo movie starring Gerard Butler, which I would also see, but enjoy less. Fortunately, there's some ways to offset the motherhood penalty and close the wage gap. Flexible work hours, affordable childcare, and a national policy of parental leave. Because America's the only industrialized country with no policy of paid family leave. That's right, we put a man on the moon, but we can't spare anything to put a mother in a nursery. I'm kidding. They faked the moon landing. But here's some more good news. We don't have to find solutions on our own. Iceland has done a lot of that work for us. They're ranked #1 in gender equality, and their paid parental leave policy is a huge reason why. So it's equally likely that a man or a woman will take leave during childbearing years, which is helping them close the wage gap much quicker. Female representation. We've been hearing a lot about it this past year, like Tide Pods and the undeniable chemistry in A Star is Born. No, not Gaga and Bradley Cooper. I'm talking about Sam Elliott and his own mustache. Where were we? But why is female representation in America important? Now, the reason we've been hearing so much about female representation is the 2018 midterms. A record number of women won seats in Congress, which is great. But remember, that's only 24% of Congress, and women make up 51% of the population. So the vast majority of policymakers have never even experienced ovulation or childbirth or catcalling. Yeah, except Ted Cruz, he's definitely been catcalled. Except it's usually people shouting, "Smile less." I feel for you, buddy. And representation is important. Research shows that when women are in politics, it's more likely women's rights will advance in areas like pay equity, healthcare, and family leave. Those are like the Hemsworth brothers of policy. Plus, women are better at getting stuff done for everyone because we tend to be more bipartisan. Even I was bipartisan for a brief time in college. Me and my roommate, Abby. Sometimes I wonder which way she went. It was the time to experiment.
You were just waiting for me to finally come around.
But to understand why we're only at 24% representation, we need to take a look back at our history. When America was founded, all of our leaders were men. The signing of the Declaration of Independence was a serious sausage fest, which, by the way, is why we eat so many hot dogs on the 4th of July. What a patriot. The first step in female representation was fighting for the right to vote, which began in 1848 at the first Women's Rights Convention. A group of abolitionists led by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott wrote the Declaration of Sentiments, which was modeled after the Declaration of Independence, making it not only the beginning of women's suffrage, but also the first all-female reboot. Thankfully, Twitter trolls hadn't been invented yet. And those women didn't just talk about representation, they fought to make it happen. In 1872, Susan B. Anthony was arrested and tried for even attempting to vote. Susan B. was the Cardi B of her time. You couldn't fuck with her even if you wanted to. And their struggle ultimately paid off. In 1920, America ratified the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote, which meant it was time to party! Except it was prohibition, so we couldn't properly celebrate for another 13 years. The entire 20th century was full of firsts for women in government. The first female representative and senator, the first major party presidential candidate, the first black woman in Congress, the first lady space princess, and the first female vice presidential candidate. We were proving that women belong in powerful jobs, and also bullshit ceremonial jobs like vice president. Then, after the 1992 election, the number of women in Congress jumped all the way up to 54, in what became known as the Year of the Woman. Though for me, 1992 was the year of the hammer pant. I think I pulled it off. Since then, we've broken even more barriers, including the first woman Speaker of the House and first woman to be a major party's nominee for president. I forget how that election ended. Let's just move on. And even after all the progress we've made, the US is still only ranked 79th in female representation out of 193 countries, which, coincidentally, is the same ranking I had at my high school dive meet. Still stings, but organizations like Emily's List and She Should Run are working to fix that by encouraging women to enter political races. The E.R.A. stands for the Equal Rights Amendment, not to be confused with the E.R.A. in baseball, which I've also womansplained. God damn it! So, the Equal Rights Amendment. It was first proposed in the 1920s by the National Woman's Party. They're my sheroes. Anytime there's a 1920s themed wedding, I show up dressed as a suffragette. Elizabeth said I pulled focus, but it was worth it. The main goal of the E.R.A. is to prohibit discrimination and guarantee legal equality of the sexes in the Constitution. Because remember, nothing in our founding documents specifically protects the rights of women. The founding fathers said they were gonna add it, but then they went out for cigarettes and never came back. Even the Declaration of Independence says we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. So technically, we're less than self-evident, which sucks. They totally left us out. It's like leaving all the women out of the Hunger Games posters. Now they just look like a JV luge team. And the worst part is, America never fixed that oversight. So that's where the E.R.A. comes in. It would add the language, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex, which shouldn't be controversial. It's like a free duck boat tour at Disneyland led by Tom Hanks. Everyone should be on board. Yet the E.R.A. sat in limbo for 50 years, until 1972 when it was finally passed by both houses of Congress. We did it! And the E.R.A. fell 3 states short after anti-feminist Phyllis Schlafly led a conservative backlash against it. She even handed out fresh-baked bread and apple pie to get people to vote against the E.R.A., which is not fair, okay? Because people love equality, but they love carbs more. So in 2019, women are still not guaranteed equal rights under the Constitution. Let me borrow your bat.
Sure.
But there's still hope. In 2017, Nevada ratified the E.R.A. Then in 2018, so did Illinois. So now it just needs one more state. Ding. Damn it. I was hoping that would work. So now there are 13 possible states, and 2 very realistic possibilities include Arizona and Georgia. If you live in one of those 13 remaining states, call your senators and ask them to support ratification. Maybe we can even get this E.R.A. passed by its 100th birthday. Then we can throw it a surprise party. We can make it 20s themed. I've already got my look picked out. If you also think it's ridiculous we haven't fixed this, go to supermajority.com/cc to find out how you can be part of the solution.